As most of you know, now we have self-ID in Spain. 2 years ago, there's this act called Act for the Real and Effective Equality of Trans People and for the Guarantee of the Rights of LGBTI people. Its number is Act 4/2023, so I'm going to refer to that act with that number. Also in Spain, that's usually referred to as the Trans Act. I'm going to give you the very short synthesis of what's in this law. We could say that it has three axes. First is full self-determination, legal sex, no questions asked. Anyone over the age of 14 could go to the registry. From 16 on, you're on your own, you do as you please. From 14 to 16, there are you have to be assisted by your guardians or parents, but if there are disagreements, they're going to appoint a defender of the minor, so most likely the minor would get their way. From 12 to 14, he has to go through the judicial system. We also have a prohibition of anything that is non-affirmative. So we have two sections. Section 17 concerning the practice of mental health professions who could be heavily fined, as I'm going to tell you. But also there's another section, 17.3, that criminalizes parental caution. So if parents are waiting to see what happens with their child, they could be accused of rejecting their identity or non-affirming their identity, and now that's also finable by this law, which is the third axis, which is a criminalization of dissent. It is a gag law, so fines go up to 150,000 euros for not complying. Psychologists are first in line because they are at a higher tier, at a higher level of fines. And it's very interesting that no sanctions are proposed for people who would use these provisions for their own interests. So there's nowhere in the law about any exhibitionists or voyeurs using these provisions in order to access human spaces. No mention. It's like anyone who claims to be trans, they are pure, saint, and no one has any bad intentions. The expression used is not gender identity, it's sexual identity, along with gender expression or sexual characteristics are named all over the law. This is the section, direct consequences of implementation of the act. And next, please. Next.
Sorry.
So before having self-ID, there was this medicalization, this medicalized system, similar to what you have in the UK with the GRA. So people wanted to change their sex, they had to have some diagnosis, and that law was very permissive. The bar were very, very low, but at least they had to do some procedures. So as you see, even if you don't understand Spanish, this is, you know that I usually keep snapshots of everything so I can prove what I take my information from. In 2022, 1,306 people changed their legal sex. And after self-ID, in 2 years, 10,600 have done that. So it's really quite an increase. That is because I'm okay.
Yeah.
That man is now a legal woman in Spain, like this. Yeah. He's a YouTuber. He thinks men are discriminated against because of the equality legislation. So he's doing this as a protest, and he's documenting every step of it. And that is when he went to another YouTube program to suggest every man that they should go to the civil registry and become legal women. Next, please. This is a snapshot of his change in registry. This is the legal text that he got when they say that now you're officially a woman. That was published at a conservative newsletter. So this is true. This one is telling the truth. And now his name is Vida. Next, please. So the thing about this guy is because he's documenting everything, he wanted to test the limits of the law. So he went to a gym and tried to enter female sauna. And then women were appalled and horrified and said, "You're a dude, leave." And a lot of turmoil was created. So police was called. When police arrived, he showed his ID. He showed he was a legal female, and police asked him whether he wanted to file a complaint. He had the right to file a complaint against the women or against the gym. And gyms, because I'm telling everything very fast, at the highest tier of fines are also public places that deny the right to express gender expression and all that. So gyms are also at the very at the front line of this. So he declined because he's supposed to be documenting all that. He's a sexist, but he's not a trans activist. So he declined and didn't file the complaint, but he was offered a choice. Not the gym, not the women. He was offered a choice. Next, please. So we have some sporting issues, but I'm focusing my presentation on male violence against women because that's the most horrible consequence of this. This is a picture of a ruling of in Spain. If maybe you don't know, we have what you in the UK call domestic violence. We call gender-based violence. Domestic violence in Spain is a legal figure which is different to gender-based violence. Domestic could be among any member of the family, father, mother, sister, grandfather, cousins, whatever. Gender-based violence, the figure that covers is male violence against women that have had a relationship with the aggressor. So that is the ruling of a woman who was suing her former partner for violence. He was very abusive. And because he had changed his legal sex at the registry, now he's legally a woman. So that specialized court specialized in gender-based violence. They said they were not competent and they deferred the case to ordinary court, which they see criminals and they are not trained in this special kind of violence. So that's the actual proof that this is happening. Next, please. And this is the woman accused. This is the dude that has had complaints by three of his partners, and he's now a legal woman. So there's no provision in Spanish law, anyone, even with penal or criminal history, they can become a legal woman just by arriving into the civil registry and saying so. Next, please. There's a lot of information in the slides, so later on with the video you might stop and read everything. So again, because of the trans law, now, even without having gone to the registry, which is just you go there, you sign some papers and you leave, which is nothing. You have to go back 3 months later to reaffirm that first visit. That's all you have to do. Even men who have not done that now are considered legal women if they complain having experienced violence at the hands of their partners. So 2 gay men in Andalusia were filing a complaint against their male partners, and because these 2 separate cases, they must have been effeminate. I don't know how to express that. Police considered they could be counted as women for official purposes. So they have now extended to those legal men, males, legal men, they have extended to them the provisions for women. Next, please. And the worst part of this is that even aggressors, men that, as previously we saw the picture of Candy, the one in Sevilla, that was accused of being violent. So there's, and the next step is one of those violent men, this case is in Madrid, he alleged that he had a new partner and that new partner had beaten him. So he wanted to have the provisions that we have, the help that we have for battered women, and he wanted to join the same shelter where his victim was. He was trying to gain access to the shelter where his victim was, and the social services in Madrid, because Madrid is ruled by conservatives, that was stopped. So the regional minister for equality in Madrid wrote to the national minister for equalities, telling her that at least 6 aggressors were trying to infiltrate women's shelters. We don't know that they responded and they have not done anything. Next, please. And this case is a horrible murderer, a horrible case that when the time of the trial arrived, he declared himself to be a woman and then changed his name. His name is Jonathan, but he says now, call me Lorena. And he wants to be in women's prisons, and his crime was horrific. So I don't want to repeat that. Next. A week ago or 2 weeks ago, this in the month of July, there was this horrible case where a woman randomly attacked a man on the street and sliced his throat. A woman. You could see at the bottom left of the slide, detenida una mujer. That's a woman is arrested for the crime. And later we found out that there was a man who claims to be a woman. But everywhere it was listed as woman. And this is the only news with very, very small outlet when they say a trans woman and refer to him with the female with the male grammatical gender. Everyone else has said this is a woman that killed a man for no reason on the street. Next, please. So as you see, the statistics are already tampered, and the single-sex spaces are no longer safe. So going beyond is that because some trial that happens in Andalusia, could you please? Okay, so there's this German man who thinks he's a woman, but then he thought he was non-binary. He presents with breasts and long hair and all that, but in his legal identity in Germany, he had that he was non-binary, so he sued the authorities in Andalusia. He won. He arrived into the High Court, and then he won. So because of that ruling, now the Registry for Foreigners has opened the door to having an X on your ID. If you have that on your original ID, official identity from your country of origin. So far, there's no X for Spaniards, but foreigners that have that could be non-binary before the law. Next, please. Then in June, the Socialist Party introduced a bill in Parliament in order to make conversion therapy against not only sexual orientation but gender identity, gender expression, and sex characteristics punishable by prison. So that's it. That has started the procedure in Parliament. We'll see whether it goes on to become an actual law, but this is something that is currently in our Parliament already. So next. And in June 2028, for whatever reason, Socialist Party uses the Pride is a sort of a sacrificial altar where to pay homage or make an offer. So June 28th, they announced that now in Spain we have an ambassador at large for the rights of the LGBTIQ plus people collective. They said that. So it is a position they have created, and that person is supposed to be in charge only about LGBTI rights, but we know that it's not about the sexual orientation; it's just advancing trans activism. Next, very briefly, in order not to let you so depressed, there's some pushback. So next, please. We gather in Bilbao, a very trans-activist territory similar to Scotland and Catalonia. There was a national gathering of Terfs there. The picture up is our group, and the picture down is the welcoming party we had. The police were separating both parties, so they didn't hit us because there was a police there, but they were quite aggressive, pretending they tried to shut our voices. This was in an act or an event inspired by Kelly Jenkins' Let Women Speak. So we were there trying to make ourselves visible, and we made it to the news. So that night, the Basque Country News 2-minute video where they say we were horrible, but because of the very short clippings they used, I think they were secretaries at the Basque television because they came out as loonies and we were quite normal. So please next. And an interesting development is that, that was at the beginning, during the morning, but then in the afternoon we had an event like this where we had different interventions, and that's all on YouTube in case any one of you would like to watch that. Next, please, Joe. So an interesting development is that when the Trans Act passed 2 years ago, the Conservatives filed a complaint before a constitutional court saying that it was unconstitutional according to Spanish Constitution. So 2 years have passed, and in May they were about to have a vote whether at the Constitutional Court whether it was really according to our Constitution or wasn't. The guy that the red arrow is pointing at, he was a minister in the socialist cabinet when the act was proposed and started the running in order to become a law. So he was part of an active part of the wording of the law, at least his department was, and his name was on the draft. But in several years, he moved from the government to the court. And for whatever reason, he was the one that got assigned the study of whether the act was constitutional or not. And he was going to go there saying that there's no discrimination because we're talking about women. It's just that some are trans and some are not. So, to his surprise, two of the female magistrates, justices in the Constitutional Court rebelled. So they were not able to vote that, and they are highlighted by the purple arrow. So they said no, the vote was postponed, and maybe after the summer, September, October, we don't know, maybe they will have the ruling. We don't know what's going to happen. But the trans activists, so to say, are now in the minority. They thought they were in the majority, so they could really bulletproof the act, and now it's not certain. So at the end of June, we were on the street again, rallying against the Trans Act. We were very few, like say happy few, as Shakespeare said, a band of sisters, few, but there's still resistance. We're not defeated, and we hope we will end up by repealing this law. So that's all. Thank you very much. I think it's a long time. Sorry.